Hi everyone and welcome along. Today we're going to learn to paint some hollyhocks in slightly loose watercolour miniature style. So grab your paints and let's get started. We're going to have some fun with this today. We're going to paint them fairly miniature and have them sort of growing out in a nice sort of arrangement like this. So I've just done some sort of very wobbly pencil lines and I'm going to leave the pencil to one side now. Right, so because we're painting them in miniature, they're going to be sort of slightly simplified. I've got a 2/10 brush here, pointed round, and I'll begin in the middle and I'm going to first place in the flowers. Now hollyhocks have got sort of beautiful sort of blousy petals, but then they nearly always have quite a contrasting centre. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and leave a gap of unpainted space in the centre. So here I go. Just really using the sort of belly of the brush and allowing for quite a frilly edge and leaving, like I said, that unpainted space in the middle. And we're going to try a range of different hollyhocks, but some have a very sort of contrasting dark ring there, and then we have a very light centre. So we're going to try that, and I'm going to pop in some Alizarin Crimson mixed with French Ultramarine blue. And we're just going to dab the brush around that flower there. So let's repeat that, and we can even try them on a bit of an angle. So starting with my permanent rose, I'm just really trying hard to leave a gap of unpainted space in the middle, and this flower is going to be a little bit more sort of from an angle, so we just squash down the petals from the side there. The tricky thing with adding a contrasting blend there is you need to make sure that your petals painted already aren't so wet that when you put that dark colour in, it just spreads out so far that it takes over the whole of the petals. That's why I'm just filling for a minute whilst I let this just dry a tiny bit, and now that's just about okay, but I won't be dabbing any more colour on. Okay, so I think the best way to do these is you paint in all your flowers first, and they sort of get just a little smaller and more closed as they reach the top, so we won't always see the centre of those flowers. So at points it might just be a case of adding a few strokes like that, or you know, right down at the bottom they might be really open flowers, but they might be facing away from us, so we won't see that dark centre either. So I'm just doing one right from the side. Let's do one more of these open faced ones to have a really good practice. So squishing the brush down, finding an unpainted middle, allowing the edges of the petals to be nice and frilly and imperfect, just getting the tiniest bit more colour on the brush, and then making sure it's not completely sopping wet, that we can't add our mixture of dark concentrated colour just around that edge like that. Now all the flowers are in, I'm looking towards the stems. So I've got a mix, I've got sap green, I've got green gold, and I've also got a mix of lemon yellow and sap green, because there's definitely a lot of greeny yellow going on with these hollyhocks. So with a 2/10 brush, I'm going to start painting in the stems and leaves of these plants. So it's just starting with the central one. A fairly sturdy, slightly sort of wobbly, wiggly stem in the sap green, And then I'm just going to begin filling in the leaves with just some sort of slightly lighter tones. Now the leaves have got a lovely sort of open, broad feel to them. So just from sort of squishing my very small 4/10 brush down, and then I'm just going to give them a little bit of sap green. There we go. So the challenge, I suppose, is to be able to fit leaves in and amongst your flowers, so there might be a little bit of sort of painting in behind, but I like to sort of start with the largest one first, just to make sure, because those leaves are going to be the largest leaves, and we can just paint them in behind the flowers, and while still wet, just drop in a little bit extra. And then if we have a flower coming off from the stem, then we need a little bit of a little branch, and that could also have a little leaf coming off it as well. So I like to have a range of greens all ready for me that I can just pick up from the palette however I wish and just make my way up the stem. And it is amazing, even with these really tiny brushes, how much broadness you can get on them. So at the moment we're just doing the basic leaf shape. We're not worrying too much about any leaf detail. I'll have one coming over the front of that flower. That's always quite nice to consider to add in, because it's not just about the flowers playing center stage. As we get towards the top of the stem, our flowers are smaller because they're in more bud stage, but that also means that there'll be some that are still just purely buds towards the top of the hollyhock. So I'm doing little branches coming off, just getting a bit smaller, and then just placing a few little blobs of buds not quite opened up yet in that green gold colour, and then a little cluster at the top. So I'm just going to work my way up all of them, adding in leaves here and there, but we can always add some more after we've put in all the main stems. Using the leaves can be very handy to sort of define the outer edges of the flowers as well, especially if you've got a really pale flower colour. Okay, so that's really lovely. We just need to do some centres of our flowers now. I've got some of that lemon yellow sap green mix, and I'm just going to paint in a little semicircle just where we can see it. These are sort of quite simple little ones, so we don't need too much. And then the only other thing I quite like to do is a little bit of shadow, because it's tradition. So I've got a bit of French ultramarine, bit of burnt sienna, and this is going to be partly for just a teensy bit of shadow, but also I'll get some Sap Green involved as well, and maybe just a few little lines on some of the leaves. Nothing too heavy though. Okay, so let's see, let's just get a bit more blue in that shadow mix. So I've got my very small brush, just diluting out the colour there a little bit. And just by adding those tiny little dabs to the base of where we just painted in that green, just makes our painting even better than it already is. And in terms of leaf lines, very, very minimal, but just here and there. It just helps give this painting all the interest that it can, and really brings it to life. So I'm now just finding a few little areas where the stem is just hiding behind a flower, or a little underside. And there we go. All we need to do is let that dry fully and rub out the pencil. Pencil all rubbed out, I think that would make an absolutely gorgeous quick card, or something lovely for your journal. So thanks so much for watching, I really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that one. I want to say a massive thank you to my patrons, because your support enables us to keep creating these videos that everyone can enjoy. And if you enjoyed it, then hit the like button and comment below to let me know how you got on with that one. And of course, if you subscribe, then you'll never miss another video. Okay, until next time, bye!